Okay, everyone. So, a little bit of a conundrum. I'm switching around my Intel to take into the portion of ray tracing because what we're going to be doing is the patch notes on the RTX blower edition of the 2080 Ti that I have, which is really great. Like, I love the card myself, it performs really well, and it's a nice complementing point to my Threadripper on my 2950X, which it's running currently in right now that we're broadcasting from. That I have patch notes behind, which we'll get into. We're going to go into some um, common benchmarks because I did hear that there was another new update cusping to fix a lot of the issues that are in the current update, which apparently made brick cards and stuff like that. I haven't gotten completely all the updates on this since this is my first introduction of doing Nvidia patchwork in their updates. So I'm pretty excited to see exactly what ends up coming down to pushing forward past that. But right now, one of the things that I just basically completely was able to recognize was how bad the Radeon 7 is to actually physically handling 4K. That's where I had like a little bit of an issue with trying to upload it. It just is incapable. And like they said they were working on it. I had an email from directly from AMD and they just completely, I guess, haven't gotten around to it. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. You can do decently good stuff in 1080p, but I don't think that the streaming cores that it would normally have for the encoder portion of what is designated to make the card run in more of a epic format is just not there. But maybe they're not their focus wasn't on that. It was more of like just a 4K gaming card, which would make sense. But that card has definitely hit the end of its market as the what is out there clause in AMD. And from what I heard in news from AMD before we switch into gears and go into the patch notes, is that Lisa Su stepping down or just walking away from the company? I saw that as like a portion of like I believe that was on Red Red Gaming Tech. Like I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, I should probably watch that later on. But then I wanted to get to this update. So with that being said, and I can kind of see that everything is a little bit more comfortable. I'm gonna hit a refresh on YouTube since it seems like it's acting a little bit weird, but not too weird. There we go. I have my playback. So let's go ahead and go into our portions where we can run our patch notes. Now, you can see that I already have Reddit pulled up, and I'm a big fanboy of running like Reddit portions. This was just broken down way easier, and I do have the Nvidia one. Both are linked into the title, and you can get download right there is your how-tos. If you're trying to download the specific driver. Now, my suggestion would be is to wait for the next driver, especially if there are bugs that a lot of people are experiencing that may um, very well hurt the game. Maybe you might want to just rock an older driver until the newer one comes out. But as I get more news, I'll funnel that into the next patch note, and we'll get to benchmarks and just kind of be able to collaborate performance boosts and deductions in these situations. So, as you can see right there, I'm going to go ahead and flip back over to where Reddit was. And you can see the majority of the 4-point saga, which is basically their generation, which is the 431.60, which is their game ready driver by GeForce, which is interesting. Like how like all of them have like these really cool like I guess marketing names where they run through it. And there is a studio driver that's more geared towards like if you're doing like editing and stuff like that. But I'm more showcasing where the game ready drivers are. I can always end up doing the studio one if it becomes super popular and people want that. Like, but for just starting, we'll just hit like the patch notes of what the gaming ready driver because it seems to be more frequently updated over the physical portions. So it seems like Madden NFL 2020 they added the update for the following SLI profiles, so it seems like that may be something that like rocks a little bit more of like a heavier portion where you can run the physics into an SLI. That's pretty cool. Gaming technology has support for the HP 24X, which is pretty cool for the G-Sync as well as the AG 27 2F CX6 and then the AG2724 G3R. Both of those are going to be like a situation that are kind of coming down from a newer technology and stemming off of that company. But it is cool to see they're continuously updating towards situations like that to make it more compatible. Adding support for the GeForce RTX 28 Super. Now, and this update did come in filtered roughly about, like, I want to say 13, 14 days ago. It's this update's been out for about, like, roughly about 2 weeks, but this is mainly for me to lay down patchwork and then lay down a situation where I can actually just, like, read and have a referenceable point for benchmarks. Um, so what it generally fixes is the SLI and the GeForce notebook. What do you mean? There's dual. Oh, interesting. I didn't know you can run like dual like graphics cards and like a notebook like that. That's pretty cool. Leave it to GeForce to do some crazy technology like that. But the World of Warcraft battle and situation where they terrain and icons flickers randomly into the game. So that there's the 2633205 code. I'm assuming that's where they end up doing it. But one of the HDR options is missing in the Windows control panel, and that is 22534456 or 50, not 56. But I mean, I never really noticed any too many things issues with HDR too much. But maybe I should start paying attention to these things. Like Nvidia's control panel is very different than the AMD Adrenalin software, which is pretty cool to navigate around. And then let's see here, important open issues. This is just basically stuff that it seems like they're leaving towards the point of we need to fix this kind of stuff. NVIDIA's control panel in the 3D settings page, the vertical sync setting is set to the adaptive sync, free refresh rate. The VSync works only at a native refresh after rebooting the system. Interesting. That definitely seems like very broken. I'm hoping that they'll be able to fix that situation because that'd be kind of annoying not being able to actually physically be able to get the sync that you want directly inside of that situation. But it is an unfolding portion where they're doing a lot more software integration into that for everyone. And then Tom Clancy's Division 2. The game may crash when played in DirectX 12 mode. And then you have your error code, which is 2587043, and then the 2406322 code. Pops. Now, Mortal Kombat 11 is the next one on the list where randomly white and green flickering screens may occur, and the 2599980 code. You also have the mouse cursor may not render correctly after exiting a game, and I have seen those situations like that occur where I've had that. Now, you can directly go with the where you are on the Reddit forums. You can go to Nvidia's as well as their Discord. This is their very popular portion of it, and you can kind of see up here. There's almost about like 200,000 people that definitely follow this, so it's reliable. And again, I match this up here, and you can download everything, and all those are in your description that you can kind of check out. But let's go ahead and get to the fun portion. Now, since the game conundrum that I had earlier is now over, we can just go to some benchmarks. So I guess in the first things first, let's go ahead and get like just our basics. We're gonna go all the way up and go to Firestrike and kind of have that as our portion of running. But this is the grand finale, the Port Royal, because I actually have ray tracing, so I kind of want to actually see what my card's capable of in ray tracing. Now that I'm starting to see that the Radeon 7 is decent, don't get me wrong, and I think the Radeon 7 is more influential, able to do the Infinity Fabric better when it's with my Threadripper. It seems to add a smoothness to a lot of video playbacks that like not a normal portion of cards are able to do. Even my GeForce kind of struggles a tiny bit here and there, but I do enjoy the situation that it's actually able to do. So like this is going to be the first one, and this is just a normal one. Now we're going to be seeing the demo for the first time. Next time I'll click off the demo as this clicks in, but I just kind of wanted to see what it looked like in HDR versus. And this is just the basic one, not the extreme. So we should be getting like insanely good FPS, like straight out the gate. Like, I would assume that it wouldn't be too horrible to think that we wouldn't be able to get like more portionable points of like the higher 100s and plus easily. But let's see. Looks like we're about to crack into the load point, and then we'll get our full test as it kind of runs down the situation. TimeSpy is a very interesting program to run. The reason why I like it personally myself is because of the benchmarks you can accrue, and like you get like actual physical like I guess achievements through like Steam, which is pretty cool. So like I thought that was like its own like level up system, which is pretty interesting. But so far so good. Like you can definitely see like where it's like there's a lot more added detail to this cutscene versus the extreme that I normally run. Oh no, I think I might have accidentally okay, a little bit of a conundrum. I didn't know you could skip that. I accidentally hit like the right click on my damn mouse, or it could have just been finished. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, we're going to the physical graphics test one where we actually have our benchmark. So, straight off the bat, I kind of expected a tiny bit more for as far as. Okay, there we go. That's the FPS I was looking for, the boost to 90. Now, where am I going to get 100? Maybe an individual card. But again, these are like very low portions, and we'll look at our portion of benchmarks right after we pull out directly. The interesting thing is like this stream is actually in 1080p, which is kind of fitting to this test. But when we get to 4K, it look more decadent. But I just couldn't run it in 4K because unfortunately, the Radeon 7 card just couldn't keep up, which makes me wonder if I should just go back to one of my old school GeForce cards instead of my Intel setup, and then have the Radeon card running like a portion of my Threadripper, and if I need to run that as like a benchmark, either or I could. But I kind of like having the Radeon inside of like my Intel. It looks pretty nice. Matches, but I don't know. I'm starting to notice that it's not really stream friendly at all. This is one of the cooler tests. I like generally standpoints. Like it looks cooler, but it's also extraordinarily more like FPS heavy. Usually because of the turns. A lot of people will kind of like start to see and like wonder like, well, why do those come into play? But that's because like when you start to like do that frame tear, that's when you start to see a lot more of like the fatiguing points. But it's pretty smooth, besides a few jitters here and there. But again, I think this is a lot of the work of PCIe 3, like in how we gen into PCIe 4, which is going to be really interesting because it's like I feel like that open bandwidth of doubling, like I think it's the caps from 4 GB to 8 GB and 4 channels to 8 channels. Um, will help the bandwidth of a point to getting us, and it probably will carry us past a little bit to 8K and like that situation of getting like a nice firm like 60 FPS and like beyond. But like for wider screen points past that and like what the K pixel extension goes to, we'll have to look into like the future of like an error occurred. Oh, interesting. Okay, so maybe we'll just start with the extreme test. Seems like we got an 80 on that situation, but that's not going to rank. What's the rush achievement? I don't know. Happen. All right, let's go to benchmarks. Since we got a little bit of a normal one, we're just gonna go directly dive into the DirectX 12. See what my card can do and work our way up there. That was really weird. I'm gonna put the keyboard off to the freaking side. Tired of it like freaking like accidentally like breaking down for some weird ass reason. But I'm very interested to see like where the technology goes after like we start to see like the next generation of like RTX cards start to engineer themselves into it, because it's like we're on the cusping point where they are going to eventually start to get like the um like an RTX 3080, you know, and like beyond, like where they're going to be pushing the boundaries, because it's like with AMD challenging like Nvidia constantly, and like yeah, the Radeon 7 card's decent, and they push it to the point to get where they bridge the gap to where they are now, and then yeah, the decency of where we are inside of the portions of technology may not be as like where this card definitely is pushing the boundaries versus where my Radeon 7 would be maybe 30. I can maybe get it to overclock to maybe do like a pretty decent portion around there. It's not going to be able to compete as much as this. So it's like the top dollar portion of where this card's like weight and like it can hold versus like the Radeon 7 are two different qualities. I like the 2080, and this isn't even overclocked. This is just it's normal stock. Like I haven't messed with any of the overclocks because I had the Precision OX1, which we could fiddle with in the next stream. But I was like more than likely just trying to get a lot of baseline tests, and then like maybe in the last one I might like fiddle with the overclock. I don't want to have this video be too long. mainly just to showcase the baselines, which I've done a little bit in the past, but I haven't done a lot. Okay, test 2, rounding that about. It's pretty decent. Seems like the GPU and CPU and like my Intel are like pretty in harmony. They're not like getting beat up too much. Now this is where I'm going to be interested. Normally 19, like the gain on the FPS on this is insanely high. I usually can like not even be able to like utilize stuff like this at all. I'll be more interested when it gets to the widescreen of turning near like the little helio area that it has in the center, because that's usually where I start to notice the speed up a little bit as well as a decrease. But like we're almost hitting like 60. I mean, by itself, it's like just doing it, and we can probably get overclock this thing to probably get around for like about 50. I would assume, if not higher, on a constant. If you got two cards together, that's easily 100 frames. Like if you were able to like utilize this and it being SLI friendly and like a physical point, physics like build in a situation. If this program was friendly, I'm not exactly 100%. I don't like how this interfaces with it, because again, like this is me learning more technology that I have and broadening my spectrum with tests and results and updates and figuring out what's new. Now, it seems like it is just glitching up a storm when it goes into HDR. Not 100% sure what's going on with that. It's crazy. Um, but it seems like it's probably a lot of the way that the HDR is being handled through the Elgato card, which the Avir one does so much, in my opinion, better. But I'm really excited to see maybe what Elgato's got cooking for like next gen. So TwitchCon should be fun. I should be able to talk to a lot of the representatives that I've met last year and see what they're up to in the industry. This is cool because this is my Threadripper processor. It's not like my Intel where it's like, oh no, it's going to break. It's just like, no, it's okay. It's got 16 cores. It's gonna stutter here and there, but it's gonna do its damn best. And I do have it like overclocked pretty heavily. Like the speed on that, it's like literally like 4.48 gigahertz. Would be like my normal Intel, but like right now on my like heavily portionable point of like my Threadripper, it's a 4.2 at all cores. Like this is like pretty good. Good to see that it hasn't crashed and it's doing good. Thanks, Threadripper. I love. Oh, you? If we finish the test, that'd be really interesting if we failed. All right, so first result test. So this would be cool. We should be able to rank it in. Not too shabby, not too bad. I'd like to think that average situation on the CPU was really good. Actually, that was an insanely good score. It like beat my graphics card. That's great. That was great. All right, so let's go ahead and compare some situations real fast. Bring my keyboard back. Here online. $79%. That's not too shabby. My results is what I'm looking for. And running that against, where is it? That's Firestrike. Here we are. Time Spy Extreme, my Radeon 7. And this is just with my normal freaking, like, I think that's the overclock where I tapped out, if I remember correct, too. So, that's insane. My Threadripper build with the Titan and by stock, and just my overclock on my Threadripper is slaughtering it by almost like a 2100. Pretty good, but let's see what else we can do. So let's go back to the benchmarks. Let's go ahead and run a Fire Strike Extreme. Get a nice little test right there. And I'm going to turn off the demo. I really don't care about it too much. But we're going to run just the normal test. So it has its portion of like what it can do. So it should be pretty chill. Once we get that, we'll go to run the Port Royal. And then I'll probably do one overclock and see what we can do. And maybe times by extreme or something like that. Something very simple. Oh, is this like the original Fire Strike? I might have selected the wrong test that I was going first. I guess we'll just let it run. See what happens. Oh no, instantly, but it just seems smaller than normal. Screen don't look right. Tiny. Like closed captioning. It is running super smooth though. Playback looks good too. It's loading quite well. I'm more interested to see what happens during the CPU test because they have like the little androids from that look like from Matrix, and like their I guess the robotic tentacles, and like the movement on that probably trips out a lot of the CPU just because it's a lot of moving portions on the screen at once. Those robots. Freaking creeper. It literally looks like the glitch in the Matrix when it does that. Damn, that is pretty good. My CPU is like saving the day on these tests. Oh man, I love my Threadripper. It does well. I need to try to change the thermal compound on it. I just figured out Devour is like making like freaking thermal compound paste now. Like it makes me want to like buy all everything from him. German engineered awesomeness. He's really smart. Like I was watching him and I believe I want to say Steve from Gaming Nexus just talk back and forth about like how like what compound he's doing and how it's changing, and I was just like so mesmerized. I was like, dude, I can't wait for this to hit the market. This is gonna be amazing. Because I guess he's like taking like the whole business standpoint and just becoming like a thermal paste company, like which makes sense because he's reputable and he knows what he's talking about. So why not adapt the channel over? Okay, pretty good so far. Not too shabby compared to results. All right, I forget it pops open on the 83%. Holy shiz! Like I'm almost on that cusping point where it breaks down. I want to get to 90. Great. You can see this here details. Clock counts. Everything's basically stalker. See where I got my freaking core counts. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm rocking my loadout on my Threadripper, which is pretty good. Let's go ahead, Hydra. Your system is. Oh, cool. Neato. let's get down to the bread and butter now, shall we? So there is an extreme version of that 4K multi GPUs and overclocked PC. Ooh, I have to utilize that maybe later, but I want to get this. Never ran this before. And since there's a demo, I have never seen it. Watch it. And then after this, we'll do a quick overclock and run maybe probably times by extreme so we can run it against itself. And I'll run a combination of some more tests. Now this is going to be very interesting because this is going to push the actual physical card to its maximum limit because it's ray tracing, which I'm really wondering how my Intel is going to handle that as it tries to encode it. It's taking its fancy time loading stuff, that's for sure. Almost at that 99% where you're wondering what's happening with the computer. Well, I know for sure my AMD Threadripper doing it well, but my freaking Radeon 7 in my Intel it just like went up at 3%. It is definitely encoding something way more heavier than it's used to. Does look cool though. You robot. This demo is very elaborate. I can definitely see frame tear here and there though. It seems like almost like something from Dishonored. Okay, so here comes the visual physical tests. We're going to be getting down into a ray tracing score card. Very curious to see how well it works. Not too shabby. It's a little bit more, but I mean, for it holding its own for a single without overclock, this is pretty good. I feel like this looks way better than the physical demo did. And they're doing a really great job of showing off like the sun and the movement and the shadowing. But I mean that is the whole point of like ray tracing is the ability of its point and compound of it the perspective and shooting that from the sun and meeting the where your eyes are looking at. So it's a whole different genre of like general standpoints when it comes down to our lovely portions of graphics. Not too bad. It was just one test, didn't even put anything on top of the actual CPU, which was nice. Go ahead and compare. Four. Interesting. Cool. And then three. Pretty crazy. Alright, cool, cool, cool. Not a lot of people have done this test, seems like. So I think at this point in time we've done a good portion amount of bench testing. A few that we could go around here. But I think right now what I should do open up the precision boost. Alright, so let's go ahead and give it 750 more. And our clock, I'll give a boost of 200. And then I'm going to ramp up all the electrical. That should be a good overclock. And then we're just going to give the fans just a pretty sweet chance to survive in this overclock. I don't know if people can hear me, but there's a nice little hiss of a sound. So I'm going to go ahead and hit our point and we hit apply. All good. I'm going to shut this down. Should be running in the background. And let's go ahead and run that again without the demo. Because it seems like a very fast test, actually. Because I want to get out of that like 109 percentile. I want to get into the next step. Right? What I want to do up next. Next in line, whatever. I want to get there. It's definitely loading in a shitload faster than it did the first time, that's for sure. It's not playing at all. But I wouldn't normally play this like with a game just because it's like that's pretty insane for the freaking like sound in the background. I don't know. But it is contending on like 40 FPS and like staying there and going above. Like it's pretty good. Expected a little bit more. But hell, this is ray tracing. Test out the extremes and other situations right after. I mean, we're almost getting to like about a 50. But it definitely is where the shadowing light contours, you start to see the differences. This is a fun test of like run. Like honestly, all in all, like I like Nvidia's like I guess ray traceable point. So it's gonna be fun when we finally start to see the ray tracing portion of AMD and people starting to like ramp up and test these things. So, but so far so good. Almost 50 there. We are almost rocking. A nice overclock though. It seems like it's running smooth, no frame drops, nothing crazy where it's crashed, no blue screens yet. All in all, like I know this card decently. I could probably push the core clock a little bit more, um, just because the way I have my case, it's very um, below ambient temperature. Is the way I run it, but it also has its boundaries. So I don't want to push the card way too hard and like have some issues with it. But I think this would be a nice, decent one just to start the overclocking bench, and maybe we can kind of start tippy toeing towards more accelerated portions of it in the next like video as I start to like more master the overclocking of this. Because usually like Steve like from Gaming X's usually has a nice breakdown of overclocking. Same thing with Jay's 2 cents. Both those guys are pretty good at like oh okay that was a lot more. Achievement free PC upgrade. The heck does that mean? Yes, I did it. I cracked out of the 190. Yay! 105. Sweetness. So in order for me to get here in the 3%, I need to somehow gain about a Kaioken of roughly 100. I'll be good. And I get 1,000 plus that. Let's see here. Submit a score that is at least 10% or higher than your last score. Yes! That's RTX power right there, baby. Good shit. Alright, let's see the details. Settings. So, I'm gonna kind of see what's going down and like the breakdown. We see we're getting about our core clock about roughly over 2,000 memory bus. Driver installed directly inside of there, situational points. Which is interesting because I definitely see the 43160. That's literally right there. Which means the other portion is what looks like it. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Let's go ahead and go back to some funner tests and see what we can do since now I know I can get a 10% boost over that easily. And that's in ray tracing. Let's give this a fair run and then we'll run the other ones because I know I didn't give this. I'm not going to run the demo just for time's sake. It seems like this episode might go over an hour. Possibly. But I do need to get my extreme. And why not with an overclock? With the processor being overclocked and the GPU now being extremely overclocked. Let's see what happens in this lovely benchmark. It looks good. Oh my gosh, that looks insanely good. My Radeon 7 comes nowhere close to this, even when overclocked. It does look as smooth though, that's one thing. But I've never gotten like triples like that, like prominent. Seems like it's just destroying this test. Performance boost and everything seems to be running really well. I just like the validity and fluidity that it brings to it when you overclock. Because it's like you start to see a lot of like disappearing portions of frame tears, and it seems more smoother, easier on the eyes. So this will be interesting when it has this. It should have its combined score in the very end. That's what I'm going to be more interested about, like what we can do. This little robot and his googly eyes. Alright, here's our CPU physics test. This is the one I'm more excited about because it seems like this test doesn't last long. It's just trying to combine two things in one. See what happens. I would be interested to see if it like could last a long time. Maybe that's different from like the last test where we just ran the ultra. Definitely looks cooler. Yeah, it is. We're running a full video here. Holy shit. It's over 9,000! I got the achievement! Holy crap, I didn't expect that, but that was totally cool. I'm shattering scores here. Like, for me, at least. I need to compare. I feel like my technology is it's doing good. Oh my. That's a result that's 96% better than the rest. I'm okay with that. Damn. I guess I accomplished some cool stuff today. I'm happy. Let's see here, my results. So, looking at me in this situation where you have like a portion where we have everything built down and everything kind of flopped over, you can see where we ran the normal one, Fire Strike Extreme versus Ultra, different score portions, definitely into that. There's no way that could be right. Yes, it is. I wonder where it puts me though, in like the situation. I'm nowhere clear to like the Hall of Fame, but I'm very curious to see now. That's by Extreme Slaughter. Where is it? Fire Strike. Yeah, you can see he's slaughtering at Kingpin before SLIs though. Pretty crazy crap right there. One day I'll get in the top 100 here. Everyone's SLI'd though. You see, everyone is SLI'd. Alright, so let's go with one. See what happens here. Okay, cool. Because I think I got 1800 or something like that. Or something. There's Jay's 2 cents. 1900. I was like, that's what I was looking for. Like the major creators is like I skim over probably my own portion. So I have a while to go. Obviously, I've gotten this lovely portion of 16. I want to get onto that Hall of Fame portion. I'm gonna have to step my game up. The lowest ranking one right now, and even the place in the first 100 percentile. I just got to beat China and work my way up from there. Sorry, China, no offense. But that's not too bad. I mean, 2,000, I might be able to push my Threadripper, maybe, possibly. Let's go ahead and go back, run some other tests, see where I can place. Okay, this would be kind of fun. Let's go ahead and go with our normal time spy stream. And you can see that everyone's like 1900. I probably will rank in again, probably around 1600 again, I would presume, at least. Kind of fun to kind of see exactly what ends up happening at the end of these, because like I'm like shattering records of my own, so it makes me wonder. Like since everyone's rocking Intels, I've noticed almost on that chart, like when we'll start to see more of like the Ryzen portion, or if it's just the wider bandwidth that Intel has. I mean, because that is one thing that they definitely do have, but AMD's catching up, and having more cores definitely helps. But the portion of like where your information highway is a lot more efficient when it comes down to technology, like Intel and the processing point, as well as the way that Nvidia works. I mean, they're both AAA gaming companies of like technology, and as just technology companies in general. So it's like when you get down to portions where AMT is like not always had been on the top, but AMD had also been like during the very early cusping points of the millennial portion. So it's like they're kind of like distributing a lot of fun things when it comes down to the portion of like knowing stuff. Now, that is not a bad FPS. We are slaughtering it at like a 43 to 45 almost. Where before I was kind of complaining, I was like, it's not that bad, not that good. But we're almost pushing towards the 50 range. So hopefully, like, even with these overclocks, and they're definitely standing, we'll see some major improvements versus the first few tests that we ran. We can compare them and kind of call it a day at that portion. I feel like I ran a majority of all the good tests and almost ranked in the first 100% down, which means I'm in like 150, maybe 200 at most. Because if I'm in the 96 within that ray trace point, I should look up the ray trace one. I wonder if I placed anywhere on there. That's what I should look at after the Hall of Fame. That'd be kind of cool. That's kind of one of my goals right now with doing all these patch things, is trying to upgrade my technology enough to get in the ranking portion of cool stuff. Now 30 is good, especially with that turning radius. I'm liking that. We should boost to probably 40 to 50 as we go up past the gun in case. It usually gets a nice little boost in it. Yeah, that was cool. We almost hit 50. We did hit 50 and exceeded it. Huh. This overclock works extraordinarily well. I need to find a balance where I can run the temperatures, maybe run it at like a nice solid fan thing, because it's like I probably couldn't stream like this. It would be super annoying. Maybe play a game here and there if I had headphones on, but I couldn't stream like that. It just, unless the computer was in another room, and then maybe. But I feel like with that, it's like almost like a little portable heater. It's gonna be throwing heat out of the case so fast, it's gonna fill the room up with heat. You could always put an AC in there, but still. We round about to our final test. Go ahead and get down to our physics. We will get to our portion. Alright, go mighty processor. Go Threadripper, go! I want to try putting liquid metal on my Threadripper, but I also don't like the portion of like during maintenanceable points. Like maybe I might try it once and just seeing like if it's like decently good, but like I feel like if you have good thermal paste and a really good IO situation going on, or like a closed loop, whatever like portionable point you want to go with keeping your processor in the overclock state in a nice happy situation. Because like right now I'm pretty sure like my AIO is not happy, but it's a good AIO, so it should be, you know, better that it's not, better lower on the totem pole. It could be struggling more, but it's not. It's doing pretty good. My Intel always gets like tiny bit of the jitters, but it almost like breaks down completely before we even get to this door, where it's like there's a lot more animation happening faster, which is cool. This sucks. I can't run this in 10, like 4K. It looks so much better when I run it that way. This is just a basic 1080p, but that just proved to me like what's happening in my case, or like my Intel. So it's like I just can't stream in 4K with the Radeon 7 card. It's a bummer. Said they're working on it, but I don't know. Like since they've closed the case on that card, if they'll really, they're just like, that's the best we can do. We're going to Navi 12 and 14, which are going to be great cards. Those are going to be the ones I'm looking for because they were actually being tested in 4K and pushed in 4K. So their streaming cores have to be decently within like the 4K bandwidth, I would assume. Okay, cool. I think we got almost like a solid 1,000 over, like what we got from us just the last time. So not too shabby for as far as like the FPSs. Those are boss. Considering that on AMDs with the Radeon 7, I usually normally average roughly about 32 to 33, 34, or maybe in a good overclock and headroom or patch, depending on. But this is impressive because this normally never shatters past 20. So I'm pretty good looking at that. Let's go ahead and look at our situations for as far as our scores. 89%, not the best, but pretty good. So I'm within that 300 range right there. I need to boost it by at least almost like 150 and I'll go into a whole new percentile. Makes me want to do like one more overclock. See if I can, maybe. But let's go ahead and compare that with our very first one we started with. We ran a lot of tests actually, it was pretty good. That should be our time side extreme. So right there, we almost got 100 above where we were originally. Like literally, like it's almost like 1,000 directly above, but that 100 is just like roughly kind of killing us. Oh. All right, so I want you to look at one more thing. I didn't even like think to look at the Port Royal. Here, where do I rank in that? All right, I can look at the score. Here. Go to my results, and then I should be able to go back 3 times right after that. Port Royal, where is it? Right there. Those are mine right there. Now we need to figure out what I need to do. Place. I guess it's not letting me go. Oh no, it's right there. It opened up another one. So I need to at least break 10,000. That's not horrible. I think I can do that. I think I can do that because I've been the one thing I really did want to do liquid metal with was a person gave me great advice with the GPU, and that might physically push me to the boundary limits of this card, which would be kind of cool. I definitely am on the cusping point, but I need to push the cards farther. So let's go ahead and shut down this program. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the precision boost one more time. See if we can't push this puppy a little bit farther. I know this is like an hour long stream, but this is kind of fun. I've never had too much with this, like as a result, but hell, you know what? We'll go ahead and turn it up, turn it all the way up, 98 degrees. You know what I mean? I remember, I think it was Jay's 2 cents that was like mentioning it really doesn't do much. Now this is more likely where I'm gonna mess with. Let's go ahead and see if I can do 225. I want to go to 250, but I feel like the minute I do that, I'm gonna break the processor. Okay, 1300. Things are looking pretty shit. Cool. Um, okay. Let's go back to a portion of 3D Mark. Where are you? You're on the other side of the screen. Okay, so let's go back to the one we're doing really good with. See how close we get, because it seems like this one and then the Time Spy Extreme not too much, but Fire Strike Extreme my system accelerates pretty well at. So much for keeping this short and not doing a lot of overclocks. Like once I got cracked into doing overclocks, I was like, yeah, now I kind of want to just push the card to its boundaries. It kept giving me awards and stuff, and I didn't know what to do. I kind of wanted to keep going. It seemed amazing. At the same time, too, I could always run like the MSI tester and under the extreme point to like kind of set the curve of where the card starts to fatigue. But I guess for the sake of like pushing the boundaries of the card, it'd be kind of nice to do this through 3D Mark and see where it fatigues too, because you always want to multiply your testing platforms, just making sure that they actually function pretty well across the board. Just because it's like one program might yield one result and the other one collapses underneath the other portion of it, just because it was just utilizing a different portion of the card, which is cool. Man, that looks so good. Even in 1080p and 140p playback that I'm watching it in like freaking like YouTube, like it's not bad at all. It would be nice to be able to integrate the like Control Z eventually. I can always do that with the Nvidias where they have the overlay. I think you can see like power and other things during the portion, so we can see when its thermal cap out is and try to adjust it between there. But that's why I like the MSI combustor. Like it like, works really well with just like being able to look at things and play with things at the same time and adjust it to be just perfect. Where it's just like, all right, I feel like this is pretty decent, and then test it on other programs and go from there. It's like you have a ballpark where you start smacking balls out of the park. Okay. I feel like that was decent, but it wasn't like way better than our last score. So with that gain, I mean, I did gain about roughly shoot. It wasn't too shabby. That was a nice portion of like almost like yeah, it was like almost 200 from just 25 and releasing that. Huh, sweet sauce. So now I'm literally 900 away from getting in the Hall of Fame, knocking off someone off that like thing. So yeah, I might liquid metal that because I feel like I could literally go a little bit farther with that damn processor. Let it run well. Okay, so we're gonna do one last test and then I'm gonna call it quits at that portion in time. Since we have everything that's been basically kind of there, this was like pretty like elite. We got this, which is your direct. But this is more designed for like PC overclocks, and this portion is not. I almost want to go back to this one, which is the original like one I accidentally stumbled on. You can kind of see what our old portion of our score of like the first test that kind of lined up versus the last test. Alt Z, that's what it is. Seems like the screen like may have tripped out last time versus this time. So that might have been the more higher than average frame rate where I was just like, whoa, that's interesting. It tripped out. Drastically lower frame rate, but it still looks really smooth. It never gets old. It looks like a freaking like very like dopey looking like robot. All right, cool. The physics test. So many of them. All right, that sounds meat. Let's see what we got that we can compare after this nice little fire strike combination test. It shouldn't last too long. It seems like the last time it lasted decent, but who knows? Maybe we'll actually finish the damn thing. It definitely got farther than it got last time. Well, there you go. So looking at the Ultra test when we first got it versus this, I've literally gone up 1,000. I've definitely placed like a lot of situations. So I'm gonna go ahead and let my computer take a rest. Like I've already kind of abused the crap out of it. We've done a lot of good base testing. Now we kind of see exactly where your rank and we'll have it inside of the situation. But if you're new to the network, you can definitely subscribe and hit a like and share. And if you do, you'll help me become one step closer to beating Justin Bieber in subscriber count. And that's something worth subscribing for. Alright, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop buttons, and I'm going to go ahead and try to eat some food. But if you've enjoyed the video, it's been pretty fun, and I'm going to be a little bit more shorter on the next video. This was mainly just trying to figure out what my card was capable of and kind of testing it a little bit more on the up and up. But I'll see you guys and gals in the near future, and it seems like this driver works pretty well. I'm looking forward to the newer game-ready Nvidia GeForce driver, and this was the 430.6 or 431.60 update.